Woo, 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 woo. Welcome back to another episode in the USG training manual / workbook. Y'all know the drill. Get out your notebooks, get out your tablets. If you're just hopping in, we like to start off by getting our stuff together so we can take some notes. Now, we are going to dive into the daily solar terminology today. I like to go over this because a lot of individuals, when they first get into the solar industry, are going to hear a lot of terms that they have never heard before. So we like to start off by getting you guys briefed and ready for what you guys are going to be encountering during your time in the solar industry. On this one, this is the training workbook, so obviously it's not the filled out portion. If you want the filled out portion, it is on the training manual. This is the non-filled out portion. Now we're going to go fill this out as simple as we can for y'all just to recall easier, okay? We're going to just dive on into it, okay? So net metering is connecting to the grid. That's pretty much all I like to say the net metering is. It's just connecting to the grid. It's connecting to the grid, a metering system to measure production of solar. Sure. Mostly it's just connecting to the grid. Net metering is the program, and net metering is the federal program in itself. Net metering, connecting to the grid. ITC federal tax credit, which we just dived into on our last episode. ITC tax credit is a federal tax credit for homeowners to lower what they owe in taxes based off their total system cost. At this time, it is 26%. Now this one what I'm going over here and how I'm defining these is just a shorter version of the filled out manual that you already have, okay? Inverter. This one is we've already covered in a previous chapter. Converts DC, remember, to AC energy. This is what is needed to do that conversion. Easy. And this goes on all panels. You got to convert it somehow. DTI, my goodness, you'll get into this a little bit more as if you so choose to get into the closing side and working with homeowners directly in-house. But DTI, for the purpose and simplicity of this, is debt to income ratio. I'm going to kind of expand this just a little bit more because it's going to need to be expanded. If an individual is looking to get scenario $100,000 system and they have a lower income, let's say $30,000, and they have a lot of debt, so they have credit card debt, they've got a mortgage, they've got things like that, they're not going to be qualified for this system because their debt to income ratio is too high. So we want a good even debt to income ratio that's not too overpowering for the debt side, right? So debt to income ratio, this is looked at deeper while in home working with clients. I'm going to say you want somebody who has, and this will also come into play if they want a larger system and they don't qualify for it. They might have to get a smaller system. That's when this comes into play, because they may only get qualified for a lower system. They may only get qualified for a smaller system because their debt to income ratio is already too large. Offset. The simplest I can put is consumption versus production. Offset is huge because this is what we look at this is the first thing we look at when we're building a system, is how much does a homeowner consume in energy. We want to offset that in solar production. And this is how you get a one bill situation without having two bills. So let's get into offset just a little bit more. Scenario, if we have a homeowner who if we have a 90% offset, that means 10% of consumption is not being covered, and ultimately will result in two bills. Can possibly result in two bills. We always want to get them at one nice clean bill, meaning one solar bill, and that's why we want to get them the highest offset possible. Now, if they have a complex roof, meaning they've got a lot of jagged edges that we cannot put enough panels on, that's going to lower the offset itself. If they consume an insane amount of electricity and they do not have a large enough roof to put enough panels on, that will also hinder the offset. We won't get an offset to cover enough of what they're consuming. Now, how do we measure what they're consuming? Well, every single home right now, even buildings, even restaurants, all have a meter that ticks and literally tracks what you're consuming. That's how you get your current bill from your current utility provider. Reverse racking, used to adjust panels to optimal slope, which is the south-facing slope. How do you know what slope is what? Well, if you pull out your handy-dandy phone right now and download a compass app, you'll be able to see what slope is the best. But for solar, south-facing slope is the best. So when you're looking at homes, you want to make sure that they got a clear south-facing slope with minimal tree coverage, because the more trees you have, the less exposure to these panels in the sun you'll get. We do offer tree trimming and things like that, but some homeowners aren't interested in trimming any trees, so that's always kind of an objection that we come across as well. Ground mount. A ground mount is used for solar systems on the ground. This will need a large empty space to place panels. Now, when you're working in the Carolinas, you guys kind of come across a lot more ground mounts than when I work in Texas or in Florida, because you guys have the sheer availability of land. So ground mounts are typically used for farmlands, they're used for solar farms, they're used for individuals who really don't want to disturb the integrity of the roof. And what I mean by integrity of the roof is they don't want to put anything on that. So ground mounts are used for individuals who are looking to place solar on the ground. Now, I experienced ground mounting when I was working in the historic district in downtown San Antonio. We had a bunch of historic homes, and they were not allowed to disturb the integrity of the home. So they couldn't adjust anything on the outside, exterior, that would disturb the original integrity of this historic home. So we were working with a lot of homeowners who were eligible for ground mounts, meaning they could put the solar system on the ground in itself. Now, when you get a ground mount, you're going to need a fairly large plot of land, because obviously you're going to put the panels there. So you have to make sure, if you do ground mounts, that you have enough space for it. I always just say it depends on how much energy you consume. If you're doing a 10 kilowatt system, you're going to need quite a bit of space. If you're going at a minimum system, which is about a 4.2 kilowatts, you're not going to need as much space. So it honestly just depends on the homeowner in itself and their consumption habits. So ground mounts. used for solar systems on the ground. This is always an option for homeowners who can install on the roof. Now, what the problem, not necessarily a problem, but what you're going to come across in ground mounts is trenching. Trenching connects ground mounts to the home and electrical grid. These must be covered up. Ground mounts are always more expensive, and it's because it requires trenching. So these two go hand in hand. And trenching can add up, especially if you're going quite a distance. Proposal. A proposal is used in home for clients to evaluate solar location on roof, tax credit, fixed cost, and monthly / yearly savings. You're going to see a lot in the proposal in itself. This is detailed very specifically because we want to make sure that a homeowner is crystal clear as to where the mounts are going to go, or the panels are going to go. So we can, in real time, Palmetto is where we put in our appointment, and then we obviously get our proposal developed through putting in an appointment with the correct usage. Usage can be a high, low, things like that, and that actually might be one of our next vocabulary terms. But a proposal is going to break down any nitty-gritty that a homeowner might have and questions about it. The best thing about our proposals in itself is we can actually adjust them in real time with our clients. We can adjust the system size, we can adjust the savings, we can adjust the cost, all of those things can be adjusted in home. Many years ago, we had to call into our office to get our proposals adjusted, and my goodness, it would take probably an hour to get a redesign, and then we had to just sit in home and kind of just hang out for a little bit. So this kind of takes that hurdle away, and you can adjust these in real time with a homeowner, and those are a separate training as well. Prospect versus a lead. Prospect. This is a homeowner who's interested in solar, provides a set date and time of appointment with proper usage. And usage is what they consume. It's a utility bill. A lead, a homeowner who is interested in solar, does not provide further information for that appointment. And a lead might be someone who you need to follow up with, or who hasn't set a date and time yet, or anything like that. Both are great, but obviously if we're talking closed appointments, a prospect has a higher liability of closing because it has all of the necessary requirements to set an appointment. Full pitch. As we go through our pitch and learn the script and things like that, you're going to understand that a full pitch means you get all the way through the various parts, and the full pitch, making it a full pitch, means that you get all the way towards the end. So full pitch includes all aspects of the script being completed and getting to the final part of the close. And then let me give you an example of a full pitch. If I were to be talking to a homeowner and I get to, hey, so what time works best, today or tomorrow? And they say, hey, sorry, I'm not interested, and just close my door, I'm still going to consider that a full pitch because I got to the final part of the close, or the final part of the script, which is the close. We're looking for that part, which is, hey, what time works best, today or tomorrow? That is what we're looking for. A full pitch does not mean, hey, I'm Danielle, and then they close the door. So full pitch means we get to the point where we are at setting a date and time, things like that. Electrical grid. I like to think of the electrical grid as the heartstrings. Electricity. Heartstrings of electricity, this is what connects us all. A home connects all homes. Homes, schools, buildings. Everyone's connected to the grid unless you are off grid, meaning you have a battery pack. But even then, you're still connected to the grid. Heartstrings of electricity. Without the grid, we would not have power. Tax credit, we just went over that as well. Let's dive on in. A tax credit is used. Tax credit is used to lower what an individual owes in taxes. Federally subsidized means it is in place by the federal government to It is in place by the federal government to lower the cost burden. Federally subsidized. We use this term when we're talking to homeowners. We just let them know this is a federally subsidized program, and that kind of triggers a light bulb in their thought process and know that, okay, so it's supported by the federal government and it's at a lower cost. You hear that federally subsidized in regards to housing, federally subsidized in regards to food, things like that. This is another aspect, which is solar. It is a federally subsidized program for individuals. And that concludes our daily solar terminology. I look forward to talking to you guys in our next episode, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.